that have watched my last couple videos, you know what's standing in front of me, or sitting in front of me, I should say. This is a, I believe, ...2011 Exmark Turf Tracer. This is a 60-inch. It has the Kohler ECV650 engine. I got this in a deal with a Laser Z, a trailer, and another Turf Tracer. If you want to see the status on the other Turf Tracer, go ahead and watch the last video. At the time of posting this, I will say the trailer and the Laser Z have been sold. I don't remember if I mentioned that in the last video on the other Turf Tracer, but they have both been sold. I've already made my money back on this whole deal, just on those two items. So I broke even on just the Laser Z and the trailer, and I've purchased a couple more items for the Turf Tracers, so technically I'm not broke even, but selling value of these should put me far in the black, so I'm really happy with that. All I've really done to this one so far is put a cheap Amazon fuel pump on it and wash it up a bit. As you can see, it's not in the greatest shape, but it has 2,200 hours. It's over a decade old, but what can you expect, really? So today all I really want to do with it is just install a basic maintenance kit on it. The air filter, fuel filter, oil filter, just that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to do that today, see if I can help you guys out if you're doing this similar kind of maintenance kit. It should be very applicable to Kohler, Kawasaki, Briggs & Stratton, Vanguard, whatever you have. It's all basically the same process. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, and this is going to be the maintenance kit that we're going to use. This is just an OEM Kohler maintenance kit for it. Oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, oil, and spark plugs. The other spark plug is just hiding back there. It's kind of hard to see. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this installed. Alright, so this bolt here, this little drain plug bolt at the end, this is going to be a 18mm size. So just kind of get a wrench on there, twist it counterclockwise. Most of them aren't going to be this easy to get off. The one with the Kawasaki, I really struggled getting that open to drain it. One tip for drain plugs is just to kind of give it some back pressure as you're doing it. We're going to pop the fill plug open, or the fill tube, just so it drains better. And then what we're going to do while that's draining is we're going to do some of the smaller stuff. So while that's draining, let's go ahead and do the air filter. You want to pop off these two clips on the right side of the machine just to access this. Pull the outer off, pull the inner off. This inner is not in the best shape here. Outer is actually pretty new. Yeah, see, this is only a 2023, so that's almost a brand new filter, but it could still do with replacing. So I guess we found why it doesn't have a newer inner filter. This outer filter here is the only thing that comes with it. It's kind of dirty in there, but whatever. So I guess we'll just throw the old inner back in. If I can figure out where I put it. Oh, here it is. We'll just throw this old inner back in. It's not really going to hurt anything. It does have the big outer filter to protect it. So get that nice and wedged in there. Get the outer filter nice and wedged in. And then get these clips in. Make sure they're lined up in the same spot they were before. Doesn't matter a whole lot, but just makes it look nicer if everything's all nice and uniform. So that's your air filter all done there. Easy peasy. Now let's move on to our spark plugs. So you want to make sure your plug boots are out. Wow, that's dirty. Holy cow. Spark plugs are going to be a 5/8 socket. So I have a spark plug socket here. Just gonna slide that on. Those come off pretty nicely. Just go ahead and loosen them. and we'll get them off by hand. Please make sure that the machine is cold before you do any of this service. You don't want to be burning your hand. I ran it for like a minute or two just to get it over here, but it's fine. So here you see the engine was running a little lean because it had a bad fuel pump, but I fixed that. So that spark plug doesn't look too bad. We'll go ahead, throw the new one in it. Pop that in there. I'm going to thread it mostly by hand here. And I'll just do the last little bit with the wrench. And you really don't want these too tight. Once you feel them start to snug up, don't do it much past that. Pop that boot back on there. Now for this side, we're just going to repeat the exact same thing. Take the boot off. Old plug out. Looks like about the same as the first one. Looks like it's been running a little bit lean, but we expected that. Grab our other new plug here. Again, once you feel it start to snug up, you don't want to do much beyond that. Second plug boot on, and this side's good to go. Now we're going to move to arguably the most messy part of this whole deal, which is the oil filter. But before we do that, before we get any further, you want to grab that oil drain plug and just pop it right back in there. Because when we go to start filling up the oil again and you forget that this is off, you'll lose a bunch of oil. You don't want to do that. And we're not going to be over tightening this here, just getting it pretty snug. Doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be over tight. Just going to pop that tube right back into its handy little holder there. Alright, so here is my just cheap Amazon universal oil filter wrench. These are only for getting stuff off because you just want to hand tighten your oil filters when you're putting them back on. So we're going to go ahead and try to sneak this guy in here somewhere where it'll fit and just slowly twist there. Before we get too much further and it starts breaking the seal fully loose, we want to get a little bit of cardboard or some rags under there just to kind of funnel the oil. We're going to go ahead, pop this filter off. You're going to have a bit of spillage here, quite a bit. Totally normal. Try not to spill it though. So there's our filter. We're going to go ahead, dump this upside down in our oil drain pan. Alright, well that made quite the mess, but it's all out now, so we're going to grab our new filter here, pop the little cap off of it. We're going to dip our finger in some of this old oil here, just lubricate that O-ring. Some people fill them, some people don't. I personally do not fill oil filters when I do it. Haven't had any issues to date, but just make sure that O-ring gets nice and wet so it can make a good seal. And then just thread this on here. And again, with oil filters, you don't want them to be any more than hand tight, just nice and snug. Now let's go ahead and fill up the engine oil. I'm going to do 1 full quart and then I'm actually going to check levels here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the first quart in here. Alright, that's 1 quart. Alright, so let's go ahead and check it there. Once again, wipe the dipstick. Put it in, take it out. I didn't get a great reading off of that, so let's try again. That actually looks like we might be right at our full line, so yeah, look at that. See, it's really hard to tell, but that's exactly at our full line, so I'm gonna say that's pretty good there. We're gonna have to add a little bit more once the engine gets running again, just because the filter isn't full yet, but that's pretty good for now. All right, and our last step is going to be our fuel filter here. So with EFI engines, it's really important that you get an OEM fuel filter, because these are special 10 micron EFI filters. You really need high quality fuel filters when you're messing with this kind of stuff. So what we're gonna do right now is we are going to turn this shutoff valve. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see the little red thing over there. That's a shutoff valve. I just turned that. And what we don't want to do, what you want to do with some carbureted engines is you want to just run them out of fuel, just to kind of make it easier so you're not spilling fuel all over the place. But with these EFI engines, you really can't do that. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and find a pair of pliers just to kind of pinch off the line. I'm going to go ahead here, unscrew this little clamp, move it out the way. I'm going to peel this top line off the filter here, and you want to be careful. If you can, be wearing safety glasses, because a lot of this is a pressurized system. So that's fine there, really. Try to point these fuel lines up so they're not spilling everywhere if possible. That one's still going to spill a bit. We're going to hold this top exit of the fuel filter so that the fuel isn't going to drain out of it. Hopefully we'll create a bit of a vacuum there. So there's still going to be some fuel that comes out, but hopefully it's not going to be a ton like it would be. See, we just get to kind of block that off. And now I'm going to go put this in a bad gas tank that I have. All right, now final step is going to be to put this filter back in. And remember that these are mono-directional filters, or solo-directional filters, whatever the word is. So you want to make sure that the arrow is pointing the way the fuel will flow. In this case, it's towards the fuel distributor or fuel pump, whatever that is. So we're going to make sure that that arrow is pointed this way. We're going to go ahead and hook that back into our fuel line. Hook that back into the other part of the fuel line. Then we're going to bring these clamps back around. Make sure these are nice and tight here. So that's one done. Then we'll grab our needle nose pliers here. Just grab the other set real quickly. Pop them on, just so we're not getting any fuel leaks there. And that's it. Make sure you turn your shutoff valve back to fuel flowing. But other than that, maintenance kit's installed. And here goes the first start after all of the maintenance. Let the fuel pump prime. So a couple things I want to point out with that first startup. So you heard it surging a bit. That's because we purged a lot of the fuel in the lines, so it's just kind of surging as it gets back up to normal. And then at the end there, I don't know if you saw, but it was smoking a bit. That's just it burning off all the oil that was sitting on the deck. I'm going to go ahead and mow with it for a bit just to burn all that off, and then I'm also going to give it a quick wash just so it's ready. It should be selling here in the next couple of days. I have it listed already, so I'm gonna get to mowing with it. It's probably gonna be a bit smoky, but is what it is.